A guy at my college saved me from being kidnapped by yelling out a random girl's name and pretending to know me when a creep grabbed me, and now I really want to ask him out. Posted by you/wow throwaway 56. I'm going to talk about how I was almost kidnapped in detail since it's actually a bit therapeutic for me to write it out, but if you aren't interested in reading, just skip down 2 paragraphs. 5 days ago, and against my 20F better judgment, I was out running at about 10 p.m. Our school has an open campus that is surrounded by woods and a couple of easy trails. It can sometimes get a bit scary at night. Since my school and its surrounding neighborhood are very safe, I don't usually worry much when I go out running alone. That particular night, my phone, which was also my flashlight, decided to die mid-run. I should have known that could happen since my phone had been having battery issues. It would die even though it was at 10 to 20%, SMH iPhones. That immediately sent me into a panic since I was on a pretty secluded trail with very minimal lighting. I stopped running to fumble with my phone to see if it would miraculously turn back on, but nope. I was also wearing light reflective leggings, so I was definitely visible to others. I was about to start running again when I noticed a guy approaching me. I hadn't noticed him prior to this, but he was probably hidden in the woods next to the trail. There's like a public bathroom and a picnic table. He was smoking a cigarette and had his phone in hand, and I immediately got bad vibes. By the time I realized where he even came from, he was already only a couple of feet away from me, where he called out, "Miss, are you lost?" His speech sounded a bit slurred, and he reeked of cigarette smoke, which led me to think that he was probably a homeless drunk living near the picnic table and public bathroom. I told him no and that I was on my way to my friend's house, despite my athletic gear, lol. Then he gave me a once-over, whistled, and said, "Damn girl, you look delicious. Look at that ass," and he slapped my backside. I think I yelped and immediately stepped away, but he reached out and grabbed my wrist. I thought it was actually the end for me, and I screamed as loud as I could, but there was literally no one near me. My heart was beating out of my chest, and I felt like I was going to faint. He chuckled and said, "Shut up, no one can hear you anyway." My heart was beating out of my chest, and there was so much adrenaline coursing through my body. Thank the stars for what happened next. From behind me, the trail suddenly became lit, and I realized there was a biker heading my way. Then I heard him call, "Natty? Is that you? Holy crap, what are you doing out so late?" The guy immediately let go and began running away. The biker got closer, immediately braked, and got off. I have no clue who this guy is, and he doesn't know me either. I think 24M asked me if I was okay and what that guy was doing, and I explained to him everything that happened and almost got on my knees to thank him. He looked just as freaked out as me. He asked where I live, and I told him I was a student at X college, and he told me that he's a grad student at the same school. He also immediately took off his sweatshirt and gave it to me to wear since I was only in a tank top. He then walked me all the way back to my house, around 2 miles. On the way, he tried to ask me about school and stuff, but I was a bit too frazzled to give any sensible response, so he mostly talked about himself. He told me he was a second-year CS student at the engineering school. He likes to cook, his favorite show is The Office, he enjoys playing basketball but he sucks, he works part-time at Google, and more stuff I can't remember. He also gave me his email and number and told me that if I needed him to talk with the police/file a report to just shoot him a message or call. He apologized for what happened and said that he was glad I was safe. I thanked him a billion more times and went home. The next day, I texted him and thanked him again and also went and filed a police report. But I feel like I can't thank him enough. He literally saved my life. Without a doubt, if he had just kept biking or didn't see me, I would have possibly been killed. I don't know how I can show my gratitude. I really want to take him out to dinner, but would that be weird? I also have to return his sweatshirt. I'm also a bit infatuated with him. Do you guys think that's a good idea, or is there anything else I can do to show my gratitude? If I do go about asking him to dinner, what should I say? Should I call or text? By the way, I know a lot of you are going to ask if I'm planning on seeing a therapist, and the answer is yes, I've already booked an appointment. Although I think I'm dealing with it pretty well and have mostly put it behind me, I know that it is for the best that I see a therapist for a bit. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Plot twist, the 2 guys are actually running a white knight pickup artist scam to score gratitude dinners from vulnerable young co-eds. Just kidding, take him out. I'd bet he's down, since he gave you his contact info. Yeah, for the police report, you know. Ops response. OMG, this made me laugh out loud. Thanks. Lol, I think I will after hearing all the positive responses, although I'm still pretty convinced he only gave me his number and email for the police report, haha. Commenter 2. Search his phone number and email online and on social media, just to make sure he isn't also a weirdo first. Ops response. I found his Facebook and stalked him. No red flags so far, and no pics of any girls either. Update 1 month later. Hi guys. I'm back with a long-awaited update. But first, thank you to everyone who responded to my first post and gave their advice. I definitely wouldn't have asked if it weren't for all the positive comments. A lot of you suggested that I just shoot him a text and give him an update on my situation, then ask if we could meet up for coffee. Dinner seemed too much like a date, so I could return his sweatshirt and thank him. That's basically exactly what I did. I shot him a text and told him that I had filed a police report and that the police would be in contact with me. Then I asked him, in a double text, if I could take him out for coffee to thank him and return his sweatshirt. He actually didn't respond for a whole day, and I was really starting to feel like I'd totally overstepped, but then he did. He first told me that it was great that I filed the report and then asked how I was feeling. He also said that I didn't have to thank him and that he was just doing what anyone would have done in that situation, but that a quick coffee sounded good. So we scheduled to have coffee on a Saturday morning. Going into our meeting, I was actually super nervous for some reason and ended up being 15 minutes early. So I sat for about 10 minutes, fidgeting with his sweater and waiting for him to show up. To be honest, I wasn't even that sure I knew what he looked like. The entire night is still pretty jumbled, and when he was walking me back, I barely paid any attention to him. It was also super dark, since I was just replaying what happened over and over again in my head. I just remembered he was tall and had a nice smile. Then, this really tall dude walks in, scans the shop, sees me, and gives me an awkward smile and wave. I didn't know what to say after our initial niceties, so I just blurted out, "Whoa, your eyes are actually blue, I thought they were brown, haha." I wanted to crawl into a hole after I said that, but he laughed and said, "Yeah, they can be deceiving in the dark." Then we ordered coffee, he refused to let me pay, and sat down. First things first, I gave him back his sweatshirt and he thanked me. We ended up chatting for 2 hours about mostly random stuff like our classes, our summer, The Office, which is also my favorite show, politics, music, etc. I also asked him why he decided to call me Maddie when he was trying to save me, and he told me he read an article somewhere that if you pretend to know a stranger who's in trouble, you're more likely to help without escalating the situation or getting yourself or the other person hurt. So yes, he's sweet and caring and devilishly handsome, and we really clicked. But he didn't seem that interested in me, not that it was a date. So we went about 5 days with no contact until I came across a meme about The Office and decided on a whim to send it to him. It ended up being a good decision since we ended up talking until 1 a.m. The next morning, I was feeling bold again and, after much debating, I sent him a text that said, "Hey, can I please take you out to lunch? Coffee didn't count since you didn't even let me pay for you." He said yes, and this time I managed to successfully pay for our meal. I wore a nice sundress to lunch and he said, "I love that dress. You look really good." We had a really great time again, but as we were leaving the restaurant, I realized that he left his phone on the chair, so I grabbed it and gave it to him. This is important later on. About 2 weeks later, he went out of town, but we were still sporadically texting. He sent me a text that said, "Hey, can I take you out to dinner to thank you for grabbing my phone?" OMG, he's too cute. For those of you who might not have caught on, he was mimicking how I asked him out. Anyway, of course I said yes, and now we're going out to dinner tomorrow night. I like him a lot, but I have no idea how he feels about me. Maybe I'll ask him over dinner tomorrow. But so far, that's what has happened. Second update 1 week later. Hi again, guys. This is the long-awaited second update. But first, I have to thank all of you again for being so supportive. You guys literally all made my day with your positivity. So, the dinner date. I woke up Sunday morning at like 11 a.m., don't judge, and saw that there was already a text from him at 7:30 a.m. saying, "Hey, does H Mediterranean place sound good for tonight?" I'm at that stage where I'll smile and giggle at whatever text he sends me, so after doing that, I told him that it sounded great and asked him what time we should meet. We decided on 7 p.m., and he said, "Great. Pick you up at 6:45? To which I said, "You remember where I live?" And he said, "How could I not? It was where I parted with my favorite sweater." Sigh. He knocked on my door on time that night, but I, embarrassingly, was already waiting at the door, so I whipped it open after he knocked once. Oh my gosh, the sight that met my eyes was beautiful. I'm just now realizing that this Reddit account has turned into my diary. He was wearing this light blue dress shirt, with the sleeves rolled up, that complemented his eyes, with some nicely fitted black jeans, and he looked so nice. Then he gave me this awkward little smile and said, "You ready to go?" I followed him to his car, and he opened the passenger door for me. I swooned. The car ride was a bit awkward at first, but then he asked me if I wanted to put on my Spotify, and we ended up singing to Mr. Brightside. Turns out, he's a great singer. I asked him about it, and he was in an a cappella group all 4 years of college and is some low-key cello prodigy. You bet I searched up him playing cello as a kid after I got home that night. We got to the restaurant, waited in line for a bit, then finally sat down and ordered. Once again, the conversation just flowed so nicely. We talked about literally everything, but I got to learn more about him this time around. I asked him if he used Reddit, and he looked confused for a second and then said no. I think we're safe, for now, guys, haha. He made fun of my hands being small and then held up his hand for me to place mine against to compare. I swooned again. Then we had a nice conversation about how annoying contacts were after he choked on his water laughing at something and his contact shifted. Anyway, dinner ended too soon, and it might have been just me, but I swear both of us were trying to walk as slowly as possible back to the car. After we pulled up to my house, we had that moment where neither of us knew what to say or do, so I said, "Thanks for dinner," his name, let go of my purse, opened the car door, and stepped out. Naturally, he said, "Hey, wait, your purse," to which I responded very dramatically, "Oh no, I forgot my purse." "Thank you. I guess I have to take you out sometime to say thanks." He got it immediately and burst out laughing, facepalmed into his steering wheel, and said, okay, good night and text me when. Needless to say, I could not sleep that night. Fast forward to Saturday night. On a whim, I texted him, "So, I'm about to have an office marathon. Do you want to come over and we can order takeout?" He took half an hour to respond but said, "That actually sounds amazing, count me in." He came in sweatpants, a hoodie, and glasses. Oh my god, why does he look so cute in glasses, and a bag of chips and guac? Swoon. We DoorDashed Indian and started watching on my couch. At first, we were sitting like a good foot apart, but then 3 episodes in, our legs were flush against each other's. Somewhere between the 5th and 6th episode, he leaned back into the couch and I did too. By the 7th episode, my head was on his shoulder and his arm had moved behind me, sadly not wrapped around me, though. After like 2 more episodes, he began dozing off, and I poked him and asked if he needed to go back and sleep. He told me he's been staying up really late doing this project for one of his classes, so he's basically been only sleeping 5 hours a night. After hearing that, I shoved him up and told him he needed to sleep before 12 a.m. today. It was already like 11 p.m. At my door, he said sleepily, "Tonight was really fun. I hope we can do it again." He just looked so cute and kissable at that moment, so I just threw my arms around him and hugged him. He circled his arms around my waist, and he was the first to pull back. But he didn't pull back all the way, and we had a moment where I was trying to look anywhere but his lips and he was doing the same. Then he leaned in a bit, closed the distance, and kissed me. I may have melted on the spot. It was really short, but it was so sweet. He pulled back, said goodnight, and left. Needless to say, I could not sleep again that night. That's what went on in the past week. To be very honest, I'm still not sure if he really likes me. Maybe he was really tired when he kissed me and wasn't thinking straight, who knows? This morning, he texted me and said he slept the best he's had in a while. I don't know what the next step is, but I'm over the moon right now. Editor's note. Ops' last post was made in 2018 and they haven't made any new updates since. Hopefully, they are still together, and on their 11th rerun of The Office.